Special session, mayor and city council meeting, 10 a.m. Wednesday, May 20th, 2026, City Hall Council Chambers. Call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Bennett. You got what you do, señores? Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor. We move to item 3, orders, consideration, possible action, order 2026-05-022, an order of the mayor and council of the city of Nogales, Arizona, adopting the tentative budget for the fiscal year 2026-2027, scheduling a public hearing on the budget and notice of hearing for 2 consecutive weeks as required by law. Any discussion? Any discussion on the budget? Comments? Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Mr. Bakken, are we gonna discuss the water rate at this time during the tentative budget and some of the salary issues?
You may.
Okay. Yes.
Right now is the time to do it, right?
Actually, now, while the issue of water rates is kind of a separate item, agenda-wise, it will impact what we put in this budget. Because what Sergio has done is he has transferred $1.3 million from the general fund reserve to the water fund.
Okay, so that's been taken care of.
And so, and of course, that makes the water fund balance, but it also creates a requirement for you to find a way to pay it back.
Okay.
Because you're not going to be able to just give it. You have to lend it, and then we have to pay it back.
Okay. So my next question is, this is the only time that we can make a change to the budget, right? To the tentative budget after we approve it. We can't do any changes to the final.
Well, with final budget, you can lower expenses, but you can't increase expenses. So today locks in the expenditures.
So they're not locked in right now. No, we can.
Not yet.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
So my question is, can we just,
Ms. Padilla,
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Your mic.
can we just jump in like Mr. Hortkus was mentioning on a department or other salaries to discuss that right now?
If you still have questions, this is the time to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Sergio's here to answer them.
Question.
Go ahead, Ms. Padilla.
I kind of missed the last meeting when you guys were discussing this part, and I haven't seen the YouTube. But, so the $2 across the board, was that for all city employees, public safety, everyone included, correct? So. Do I make a motion or do I just say?
Ms. Padilla.
Just
I'm asking.
we'll discuss it first and then.
I'm not sure how to works. Oh, good. Okay, Sanjo, I do have a question. Is it possible, I'm proposing the $2 across the board, particularly for the police department. I don't agree with that figure. I'm hoping the minimum, the least minimum is $4 for officers. Just the 43 or 45 officers, nothing else.
You're
$4.
requesting to increase an extra $2 for
Yes.
police officers. Also, I just wanted to remind you that we also in the budget, we have let's go to the police department real quick.
Page 56.
Okay, on page 57. So both police and fire will have this line item, which is called the incentive pay. So that's the 2,500 we give extra to police officers and corporal sergeants, obviously the officers from the department, and also fire department has that. It's $2,500 a year, which is split in half. Part of it is in December, and the other half will be done in May. No, take that back, June. Originally, the past year, it was suggested and making it, instead of 2,500 a year, it becomes 5,000 a year, which is 2,500 in December, 2,500 in June as an incentive. So that will be about approximately $2.40 extra that those officers already get. So if we already give the $2, this is just explaining. It's up to you guys how you guys want to decide to do it. It's just if we make it that will be an extra $2.40 for the personnel, the officers, that they can be given as an incentive for staying with the city. So in two portions. So that can be also an option if we decide to go that route instead of an extra $2 for police officers. So I just wanted to suggest that and that is possible because that incentive we don't pay. The city doesn't have to pay the pension portion when it becomes an incentive. So it's a save for the city as well, and the officers also get that extra annual amount. But again, it's up to you.
But it doesn't equal to the 4. It would be 2 right now, and then
And with the incentive, if you decide to increase it to $5,000 a year, it becomes an extra approximately $2.40 extra.
but even with the incentive, I don't think it's still enough to. It's still a very low salary to be competitive with other departments, to be able to recruit
It'll be a
better
decision.
qualified people.
Look at 2 plus 2, 40 is 440. Go ahead, Mr. Puckett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I say anything, I think that Chief Jimenez wants to make some comments. But I will have some comments after him, depending on what he says.
Good morning, Mayor, if I may. Mayor and Council. Well, I appreciate that effort, Mrs. Parada. Understand that increase that is being considered only affects a percentage of my department, which is your department, which is the city's department. And I do have other employees that also have to be considered, in my view. Last year, it was pretty difficult for me to explain to those employees that didn't receive the Senate pay that Sergio was talking about, when it only included the working group officers. I had to explain to the other employees that are still in public safety that they weren't included in the process last year, and was hoping to be able to include them this year. I agree that there's a need for an increase, but I want to just make my point that I would be more comfortable if it included the entire department, which includes our officers, our staff, our parking enforcement specialists, our records clerks, our evidence custodians, and any other staff that's in the department. I consider them all to be public safety, and they're all in high demand in other areas of the state and the nation. So if we single out just the officers that are in the working group, I think it would be unfair to not include the rest of the department.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Chief, I think that one of the main problems we have in the police department is trying to recruit people, police officers coming into the entry level. I hear that there's applicants that apply for that position, but then they find out that they know what they're going to be paid, so they just go ahead and don't follow up with the process because they'd rather go somewhere else, where they can have a better, decent paying job.
You are correct, sir. There is that process where they get misinformed because they Google or in those job searching engines that are on the internet, they search Nogales Police Department salary, and they get this range of salary from in the 40s to the 60s. So they get misinformed to begin with. So when they do become interested and start the process, they find out that the starting pay is at a certain level, and that discourages them. But in my view, in my experience, retention is always better. If we can keep the ones we have and make them want to stay and give them the reasons to stay, because a lot of them don't understand that if they move on to other places, fortunately, the city has a really good compensation plan when it comes to medical insurance. It's actually second to none in the state. I think it's one of the best. And they find out the hard way when they leave to other agencies. But my focal point has always been retaining the officers we have, because it's very expensive to train them and then they go on somewhere. But recruitment is also important. If that number that attracts them more to the department is higher, I think it's twofold. We can recruit them and more hopefully retain them.
Yeah, that would be my follow-up question, you know, on the retention part, because I know that you have a lot of officers going to other agencies because of the pay. Right. You know, I know that Mr. Parkin, the last time that we met, mentioned that we have to consider public works as, you know, people that we deal on a daily basis. And it's, you know, I agree with that too. But when it comes to public safety, it's a different issue. You know, our main responsibility, our priority here is for the citizens' safety. And I think the public safety officers are at the top of the list when we consider that, you know, retaining people that want to serve the community. We can't compare them to other employees, maybe a little bit to the fire department, because they expose their lives for the people of Nogales. And I think when I look at other communities and the compensation they give to their police officers is a little bit different and discouraging for our officers here in Nogales.
Mr. Bojorquez, I completely agree with you. I think that public safety is first and foremost for the community, because if there's no safety, there's no community. And not downplaying the roles of other departments in the city. I agree with you on that aspect too, that public safety, that includes fire, should be at the top of the list. I know you guys are faced with a difficult decision, and I appreciate, you know, all the input and effort you guys are trying to do to improve our dilemma when it comes to recruitment and retention.
My last comment is, you know, I've been sitting on this dais almost 8 years, and every year we come up with a salary increase, and we deal with percentages. And you know that when you work with percentages, the top employees, the ones that are getting the most pay, are the ones that gain the most. And the bottom tier employees, you know, they end up with maybe 50 cents, $1 raise. And the top employees that are getting the 80s, 100,000 are getting $10,000 to $15,000 raises. And I think it's not really fair. We try to go across the board. I think it was last year, and you know they turned it down. So I don't know. You know, it depends on the council what they think it's fair for the police officers and the fire departments.
And I agree with you, sir. Percentage points are difficult to manage when it comes to the salary numbers. And I agree with Mr. Parkin's approach that an amount is always better than a percentage. It makes it a lot easier. But once again, I appreciate your concern, and anything we can do to assist with your decision, I'm open to.
Mr. Parker?
Okay, probably going to be a little bit disagreeable here, but I'll try to do it nicely. Two things. The first thing is there are agreements between the city and the police department employees and the city and the fire department employees. We are in the process of negotiating those agreements right now. Okay? Last week, we spent very little time after we proposed $2 an hour increase across the board for every single city employee. This discussion did not come up. Subsequent to that time, I have met with both labor organizations. We're not done with either one. Okay. Number two, last week, we did discuss the fact that we had a compensation study that had been done not quite 2 years ago that had not yet been acted on or even put in final. And those two things also impact how much employees are paid. It has not escaped my attention that the day after I met with both labor groups that you all were being prevailed upon to do more than what we were talking about in those meetings. Why do you have a contract? Why do you designate the city manager to negotiate agreements with employee groups if you all are going to negotiate with them individually and then bring it here? If this is what you're going to do today, then we don't need to negotiate those contracts anymore and we should just stop. Now, that coupled with the new figure that we've got for you today that puts expenditures ahead of revenues for the current year by $14.7 million. Okay. You're going to use $14.7 million before you make this decision, if you make it. Okay. You started out with $22 million in reserves. You're budgeting $14.7 million out of that reserve to balance your budget. And so if you do the math, then next year you're going to have about $12 or $14 million left to go in the hole with next year. Okay? You have a structural deficit now. Okay? You are already operating at millions of dollars more than your revenues are producing for you on an annual basis. And I'm not even talking about the water fund. Okay? Because 1.3 million of that 14.7 million is going to make the water fund solvent. So we keep finding ways to spend more money. I mean, hey kids, I'm out of here in 4 weeks. You guys got to live with the consequences of your actions today. And I think when you get into this point, we shouldn't be talking about doubling raises for employee groups. We should be talking about cutting back expenses wherever we can. And that doesn't seem to be the order of the day here. And I'm just here to warn you, okay? I've had 2 months to examine the finances of this city, and you're in trouble. And it's already been in the paper once that you're in trouble, and it's not going to change. It's going to get worse. And, some of you are happy that it's in the paper. I guess I am too, because it sheds light on what's really happening here. So, you can add $2 an hour to 58 badges today if you want to. I can tell you that between the police and the fire departments, you've still got almost 200 employees that are going to be knocking on my door tomorrow, wanting to know why they didn't get treated the same way. And I don't agree, Mr. Bojorquez, I don't agree that public safety is more important than public works. I don't agree. Your biggest problems right now are in public works. And another fact that's not going to make anybody happy, you are never going to achieve parity with the bigger police departments. It is never going to happen. And I can tell you that every police department loses a certain number of employees every single year. Every fire department loses a certain number of employees every single year. Okay? That's never going to change. And not everybody's going to want to go to a higher paying police or fire department. Not everybody's going to want to work for a bigger police or fire department. You're always going to have a core group. You've got a lot of people working in both of those departments that have been here 10, 15 years. Okay? All we hear about are the ones that blitz after 3 years and go someplace else. What I've been talking about with the police and fire unions is finding ways after that third year to give them an incentive to stay. I think that's way more productive than just boom. Because couple of years from now, you're going to be dealing with the same issue over again because those other departments will go up by similar or greater amounts. And I could go on, but I'm not going to because I thought this meeting was only going to last 15 minutes.
I just want to,
Go ahead.
I mean, we're just dealing with the realities of life, people.
I just want to clarify.
Go ahead, Bryce.
Clarify something. I never said that public works wasn't important. I said they are an important the division of the city. I'm just saying that our responsibility, our priority responsibility is for the safety of the people of this community. That's what I said. I didn't say public works was not an important department. I know they are. We see them there every day working on the streets, on the picking up trash and all kinds of things at the city. So they are an important. I'm just saying the part where they expose themselves, for the safety of the community. The other comment I wanted to make, when we deal with the higher top employees like directors, we never put any limits on, that we always want to go above what the one director is getting. And it doesn't seem to be a problem as far as the financial status of the city. Sergio, I just want to have from last year's reserve, did we increase or decrease on the reserve?
Talking about the reserve or the carry forward?
Yeah.
Revenues or expenditures? I'll carry forward. Talking about from 24 to 25, or, for 24, 25 year to 25, 26?
From last year to this year,
Oh, to this
the end of the budget of this year.
Yeah, I'm showing about maybe a $2 million
Decrease?
increase from fiscal year 26 to 27.
A decrease.
Correct.
Thank you.
I have a question, sir. Mayor, I have a question.
Well, those are my comments.
Go ahead, Mr. Bonilla.
Sergio or Steve, what is the difference between before we included the gap? How much did it increase? I think it was 11 before we included the $2 raise. Now is it where we are 14 or 13 million?
What increase?
As far as spending money,
Are you talking about the $2 raise?
yes,
Yeah, about 1.6 million.
Yeah, approximately 1.6.
and it would be another 1.6 with of
Add another 2. That's
Doesn't work that
across
way?
the board.
Yeah.
No, if it's
That's everybody.
just for certain individuals, then it's going to be way less than that.
Go ahead, Mr. Doyle.
Yeah, when we say way less than that, is that what, like $250,000, 300, 400,000, or
Right, increasing $2 more.
for the certain?
I would have to calculate that. I don't have that in front of me.
I have one more question.
Go ahead, Mr. Doyle.
Having heard the chief, it seemed like his department was kind of in coordination already with our city manager as far as the incentives go. Were they happy with those incentives that you felt?
We're not finished working on it yet
Oh, okay.
with police or fire,
Okay,
but, they.
but you're heading in the right, everybody seems to be heading in the right.
And I think we're headed in the right direction. Obviously, they don't, because the president of their union has obviously met with some of you because he wasn't happy with the meeting with me, but we're not done.
No, I don't think, probably the council was aware that you were.
It happens every 3 years. Okay? And, okay, so, Mr. Mayor, if one moment.
Go ahead.
Okay, when a union contract gets close to expiring, then labor and management sit down and start negotiating a new contract. Okay? So we've met once. And at the conclusion of that meeting, we agreed that we're going to meet again next week. Okay? And both sides have tentatively agreed that we should get this done before I'm done working here. Okay, so we don't saddle a new city manager with this, with half-done negotiations, if you will. Okay. I also advised them that at that time that negotiations can only be fruitful if they are negotiated between the designees of both parties. And the designees of both parties for labor are the union officers, and the designee for the city is the city manager. And normally the department head, in this case, Chief Jimenez and I, were at the table representing management. Okay. And we met for a little bit over an hour the other day. And I knew that they were not happy, but we agreed when we left the table that we would sit back and think of some other possibilities, and I would get in touch with him by the end of the week to schedule another meeting, probably Monday or Tuesday of next week. At this point, depending on what you do today, I don't see any reason to continue doing that. I mean, the method by which you negotiate should be somewhat contained, because to be honest with you, management just lost control. Okay? I won't continue to meet if I have no ability to bring a contract to you for your discussion and approval. If you're going to do it, and I'll just say it plainly, behind my back, around me, then, then go ahead. Go ahead. I got a lot to do in the next 4 weeks. This is one thing I can clear off my plate, but I can tell you that we were not close to giving another $2 an hour to anyone, but we were talking about incentives that may become equal to that based on whether or not, I mean, the incentive package is supposed to be geared towards keeping someone, okay? Your starting pay for police and firefighters is middling. It's not the highest, it's not the lowest, okay? Obviously, people want to get jobs here as police and firefighters, okay? How they see it 3 years from now is part of what we do with the labor agreement. And so what we were talking about in the labor agreement, and I don't usually talk about this stuff in public, but since you've brought it up, we agreed that the pivot point is the point at which they no longer have to pay back the city. And that's at the 3-year mark. And so what we were discussing was what kind of an incentive we can give them at the three-year mark so that they have an incentive to stay longer. And then periodically after that, incentives to stay longer and longer, maybe on an interval of so many years, or maybe every time they get a stripe on their shirt sleeve. Those are real incentives, okay? $2 an hour now, 2 years from now is going to be forgotten, and they're going to leave anyway. I mean, I've been watching this now for 42 years, okay? And the more things change, the more they stay the same. And I am personally highly disappointed in the negotiating team for the police department, for the police union, not only because they chose to leave the negotiating table and negotiate with you, but I'm disappointed because they didn't include everybody that works for the police department. Apparently, there's graders and lessers at the police department too. Not to mention the other 200 people who work for us. I'm sorry, people, I may be up on my soapbox right now, but I just think it's just plain wrong.
Go ahead, Mr. Doyle.
In all fairness,
That's fair.
No,
Mr. Doyle, what I just said is fair.
no, in all fairness, to the departments, none of them have reached out to me personally.
Neither do I.
And, you know, we're finding out a lot of the things that weren't aware of. And I believe that you're the voice piece for us, because if we go on an individual basis, it's very hard to, you know, reach an agreement.
Yeah. At
And
this point, I've lost control.
what I saw with the chief, that apparently you guys are having a positive dialogue.
I thought so.
And I mean, it's just that I don't think some of us were aware that this was happening. That's why this concern was brought up. But you know, we're learning. I think at least I am anyway.
Yeah. Well,
And I thank you for your
I
effort.
appreciate that, Mr. Doyle,
I
but
didn't mean I wasn't trying to.
again,
say
the
that
best
you weren't
place
doing
to,
the right thing.
yeah.
I think you are.
the best place to ask these questions.
But I just wanted to
come and-
show that
come
I
and
think
see
some of us weren't reached out.
Yeah.
You know, it was more our concern of making sure that, you know, everything's covered. And I didn't know that you were at the table. So, you know, I'm glad to hear that. And at least that kind of, as long as the chief and the chiefs are happy with what the direction they're going, it takes it takes pressure off at least me, and I probably think that's some of the others here in the council. So thank you for your efforts. I mean, I think this is the first time that we have a city manager that in such a short time that does take the initiative to do something so quickly, because you've only been here a couple of months.
This is something that
And we
should have been
appreciate
going
your
on
effort.
every 3
And
years.
the knowledge you bring to the table, because
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
we're
Doyle.
seeing something new that we hadn't seen in the past. Thank you.
Ms. Montiel?
No, I just have a comment. I'll turn on my mic. Give me a chance to go over here. May I direct my question to Mr. Lariva? Mr. Lariva, have you been also meeting with the city manager? Yesterday. Okay, great. Thank you.
Ms. Parada?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Palkin, since you're still in negotiations with them, please take into account, and I'm going to quote Councilmember Montiel when she said, bear in mind equity and equality. She was bashed for saying that one time, but it's 100% true. Please take into consideration, because in this past year, I've seen consultant fees and numbers being thrown up without even consideration of our own employees here with the raises. So that's spending a lot of money. That's what I'm getting at. So please take them into account. Yes, they're not paid very well, and we need to retain them here in Nogales. A lot of them want to stay because they live here, but they can't, they're living paycheck to paycheck, and it's really hard. And I'd like to retain, like, the seniors that they have. There's not that many. For the experience to go down, it's important to me. So please, when you're in negotiations, do the best you can for them.
Vice Mayor?
Mr. Palka, I appreciate all the information you gave us today. That's very positive information. And I know that you were planning on having a 10-minute meeting, but, in order for me to agree on something on a budget, which is going to affect the city for 12 months, I do like to bring up some questions that I have in mind, that might change the decision that I take. So it is good that we sit here and discuss some of the items on the budget so we can get some clarification and make the right decision.
Just one more comment, Mr. Mayor. Ordinarily, negotiations fall under the category of personnel matters. Some of what we're talking about today, we should be discussing in executive session. Because one of the things when you're negotiating a contract is you need some security so that so that you don't give away your negotiating position in public. Okay. Now we haven't done that this morning because I've pretty much told you what we've been talking about. Any further contact with union members directly, I wish you could avoid by referring them to either their department head or the city manager's office. We will schedule negotiating sessions, probably another one next week. That's what I left with both of them when we got done with our meetings this week. And you know, we will, at the appropriate time, we can update you with where we are on the status of negotiations. Okay. But, you know, you don't negotiate in public. You don't negotiate in the newspaper. You don't gain anything by doing either one of those things. And quite frankly, I feel like that's already been blown.
Okay. Anybody else? Let me pitch in. Mr. Puckett, I thank you for your negotiations and all that. I think, basically what I see is, yes, I guess union contracted council members and stuff like that, but I'm not sure if you hear one thing and we hear another thing and, where we're at, but, the one good thing is that now you know what they're asking for. Maybe they didn't throw out the same thing to you, but now you know what they're asking for. I think council is agreed on the $2 in general raise, and if it's
That's in this budget.
yes, and now you could see that there's other needs for or wants on the police and fire to it could either be through incentives or how we could meet those. Now you know what they're asking. I'm not sure if you knew that. But and we're all concerned about them. We're all concerned on both fire and police department. I've said it before. I said it. The losing of officers. I hear it every day. We got younger and younger officers every day because we've been losing a lot of personnel. And one thing that we're losing is hard to gain is experience. Experience on both fire and police has really dropped. So the new kids on the block are great. They're probably better physical and everything, but their experience is not there. And I think that goes a long way. That goes a long way. And so, I think council, if you guys agree, with Mr. Puckett to continue his negotiations, and now I believe council is strong on supporting them. In whether it's incentives or if it's an extra raise. The way I heard it from Sergio, getting it as an incentive is better for the city and better for them because it doesn't take away from the retirement fund. So,
And one
put
thing
that on your
the testing. And along the way, they also have to learn that they finally get to figure out what it is to be a police officer or a firefighter. And sometimes it isn't what they thought it was. And so that's also a challenge for us. And so anyway, I think, have we beat this horse to death enough? Can we move on to something else?
Yeah.
Just one more comment, Mayor.
You know, the other thing that you probably don't know is how many have we lost either retirement or have gone away, you know, because of the pay, you know, and just in the last 2 years, I think, you know, my two hands don't have enough fingers. You
Yeah,
know, we've
you're-
lost plenty of them.
I think we can slow that down. We can't stop it.
Go ahead, Ms. Barra.
Well, also on that subject of salaries, which are very, very important, is morale. And that has a lot to do with it. So I really, really believe that we need to support the fire department, police department, where it comes to that. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have something, Vice Mayor?
So, one last comment, just following up on Mr. Popkins' comment regarding that some of the applicants didn't pass or qualify. And that's another reason that, you know, we need to attract other people that are more prepared to apply for these positions. Thank you.
Any other comment? Okay. Now, is there any other items you guys want to talk about?
I want to discuss a few items, Mayor, that I would like
Go ahead,
to.
Mr. Bonilla.
Thank you. I would like to stop funding for the Chamber of Commerce on this budget. I really don't want to go into as to why, but I feel that at this point, we should not continue funding the Chamber of Commerce.
That is in one item, right? In the one line. What?
It's under services from agencies, non-governmental. No, 17. Page 17. So at the bottom line where it says category
Category 75?
Category what?
75 at the bottom.
Category 75?
As you can see also in this, you'll see an extra line that was added. Yeah, the in-kind, because we don't have an in-kind, it was eating, whenever there was any type of in-kind, we were getting, it was either getting paid out of special events or services from agencies. So to track it better, I decided to create an extra line item for that expense. That way, if council or anybody requests want to know the in-kind amount, we have it tracked within one single expense account.
Mayor?
And before I forget, is that we also had to add an extra amount to the fire capital. So we have to do a carryover. We were supposed to get ambulances by the end of June. It turns out that they were delayed. So we had to carry over the funding, which is $580,000 also that got added to the capital.
What line will that be?
That will be on page 62. So it's on page 62 on capital, the vehicle reserve account, we're carrying over the $580,000 for the ambulances that were also, they were budgeted about 2 years ago, right? 3 years ago. So it's been carried over and they were supposed to be here by the end of June, but it was cut short that it might come until July. So we have to carry it over the expense of the next fiscal year.
Well, that's just because they're not going to be ready on time.
Correct.
All right.
That's a wash.
So when that happens, we have to pull it out of the reserve to put it in there.
That's the 57?
Page 62
Uh-huh.
and category 91, it's vehicle reserve account, which is $580,000 for the 2 ambulances, right?
You already had it carried over.
Correct. It was a carryover this fiscal year, and now we have to carry it over. It's going to be about a week or so, right? Late.
So,
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that one is basically the 580 that's in this year's budget will not be spent.
yeah.
And then we just basically, it's a wash because we're taking it out of this year and we're putting it into next year.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Parra.
Mayor, I find it absolutely ludicrous to not give the funds to the Chamber of Commerce. They do a lot for the city of Nogales. We need a visitor center. We need the chamber. They spend every penny on making sure that Nogales gets the attention it needs. They work very, very hard, and there's no need to even bring that up. It's absolutely ludicrous.
I think what's ludicrous is when our former city manager prioritized certain city projects to pave their parking lot. Also, I can understand your position, Councilwoman Parada. You are the treasurer, right, for the Chamber of Commerce, right?
Yes, I am, and
Okay.
a proud board
Thank you.
member. Before you say that, Mr. Councilman Bonias, please get your facts straight, because like other councilmen, you just spew out inappropriate facts. You don't know what the facts are on that project.
Well, please inform us.
Oh, I definitely will.
Well, do it now. This is the moment.
I don't have the documentation.
Oh,
with me
I
at
have
this
it.
moment.
I have it.
Okay.
I have it. And can I accuse them of doing something illegal? No, I never said it was illegal. It was
That's not
prioritized.
part of the budget, my friend.
Yeah. So I just, Mayor and Council, I ask that the Chamber of Commerce not be, continue to be funded. Thank you.
Okay.
Have to vote on it.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Yes, I think that the two partners that we have, the Port Authority and the Chamber of Commerce, are very vital to this community, and they bring a lot of jobs and other community positives to Nogales. So, partnering with them is very important for us. We don't have a department at the city that will recruit employment and new business to Nogales. So Chamber's been doing a lot of that hard work and running around trying to bring other entities to Nogales. So I think getting rid of that partnership is not a good idea.
Go ahead, Mr. Dow.
Yes, Mayor, and some of the things that I noticed, some of the smaller things that are in their contract, but nonetheless, they're supposed to be inclusive, especially with the council. I noticed that they're not yet there. They get funding from Santa Cruz County, which a lot of the work they do is for the county and not so much for the city. But at the same time, they break the rules of the contract and they seem to go in a different direction and leave some of the council members with a bad taste. I think that as far as tourism goes, there's more people that come to Nogales from the events that we've supported through, like the Fiestas Patrias, the Fiestas de Mayo, Cero Stress, Little League. That brings a lot of people. Yet you don't get funded by that. And I think some of the funding that we have for tourism should be spread out a little more even with everybody that all the different agencies or events that are held should be more supported, that bring more tourism to it. And I think that we throw more money away with the chamber than what they do. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Montiel.
Thank you. So, Sergio, I know you're going to go back and forth here. On page 17, so we can have something to reference to. The services from agencies, 150,000. So that's been going on for a couple of years. So what you're saying is that you're putting in this category on in-kind expenses of 50,000. I'm curious, how much of in-kind money have we spent in the last year compared to the following year? I know you don't have the data. I should have
Yeah, I
asked
don't
before.
have that information.
Yeah, I
Tell
should
me,
have
but I
asked.
can get that for you.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. And so what you've done is the services from other agencies, 150 historically, it's 50 to the chamber and 50 to the Port Authority. And we have $50,000 left, right? Is that my math right? Okay. So those $50,000 were meant to be spent on in-kind, but you allocated another 50,000 in in-kind. And I wanted to be on record that we haven't straightened out. Mr. Estes has sent various memos regarding in-kind because I've asked him for an opinion from the Attorney General on how we disperse public funds. And for me, giving public funds, as long as it's legal, especially with the Goldwater Institute and so far, it is, I'm fine with giving out public funds to community events. I have no problem with it. But in the last administration, what I liked about having a structure in place, and it was certain amounts, like events that were sponsored by the city, and if you recall, some of them are, Cinco de Mayo and so forth, and those were given because they were sponsored the 4th of July and some of them. So we've increased them every year. We sit here and every time somebody wants to do an event, we distribute in kind. Just a minute, I'm not done yet. So, and it's fine. That's great, giving back. But I do notice that we're increasing it more. Does that mean because you put aside $50,000 that anybody that requests an in-kind comes to council, we put on the agenda, and if we're over $50,000, then the in-kind, would be $100,000 of in-kind, because remember 150, 50 and 50 is 100. So we have 50,000 left, and then you've allocated another 50,000. So it's $100,000 that would be going to in-kind. So I wanted to bring that up. It's not that I'm disagreeing with in-kind. I want to make sure that Mr. Estes, who's right now on the, that he's okay with it. I know Mr. Estes has kind of advocated and he said his own opinion, legal opinion, which all lawyers have. But the bottom line is, that's why we have a court system, right? When somebody doesn't do what needs to be done, then we have to go and people start saying, well, you gave in-kind to them and not in-kind to me, and then that can be a little bit of a issue later on. I don't want it to be an issue. That's why I'm making sure it's on record. And I also noticed that the city of Nogales is the only government entity here in Santa Cruz County that gives so much in-kind. I checked it. Because if you go to Open Books, it's a public forum, and you can check how the government agencies are giving out money, public monies. So I just wanted to be on record that we are allocating $100,000 for in-kind. So it is what it is, but I don't agree that we should allocate $100,000 for in-kind. For me, it's a lot of public funds when we want to give raises to our public safety officials. We want to increase for talk about equity, all the employees, but yet we're allocating $100,000 of in-kind funds. Well, we could use at least $50,000. I know most of our budget goes to personnel, but it's almost like we're saying we don't have money, but yet we've allocated $100,000 of in-kind monies. I know that everyone will have their opinion about it. I am not against giving in-kind at all. These cultural events are very important for the morale of the city, and especially that's one thing that the public likes to attend. And most of the stuff that we do are very I think it uplifts the morale of the city and of our public. But I just wanted to be officially known that we're allocating $100,000 when we just said we can't give it to public safety because, there's no monies. And you've said it yourself that we are in debt. So just wanted to make that clarification. And I am not against in-kind. We need to make sure that we make priorities here.
And your point is well taken, Counselor. One of the reasons that we restructured it that way was because based on what we've been seeing and for several months, not including my tenure here, but before that, there seems to be more people coming forward asking for in-kind. And so that was the reason we did it, because what we didn't want to do, we're not proposing to spend that money so much as we're proposing to be ready if the requests for in-kind are going to continue to rise, that we have some place that you can see where it's being spent and how much is being spent. That was the purpose of it, wasn't to spend more.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I understand, and I know you're an expert in budgeting, and I appreciate that it's allocated. That way it's, it's transparent and people can see where, the public can see where their monies are. I'm just trying to make a point that, yeah, I know.
Well taken.
Yeah, well taken, thank you. But I just want to say, our priorities here. Yeah. So my suggestion is that the $50,000 that the $50,000 that you allocated in kind of expenses be taken away, and the $50,000 from the 150 is placed in the in kind. So in other words, we leave $100,000 for the port and the chamber, and the $50,000 is in kind expenses, and not add another $50,000. That's my suggestion.
Make a comment.
So
Sergio, go ahead.
my understanding is that when this line item was created a few years back for the services from agencies, it was not for in-kind, it was for services from other nonprofit. So that is why I added that extra 50,000. But if the council decides to lower one line item to leave it, it's more spending authority. It's giving authorization to, if we need to spend it or use it, we use it. Doesn't mean that we're going to spend it all. As I explained last week, is that we tend to budget. It's more just spending authority, but we tend to spend approximately less than 60% of what actually we end up budgeting.
Go ahead.
So, Sergio, you've been here at the city for quite a while now, which is a good thing. You hung on. But how, in your opinion, based because you're an expert in budgets, so how was in kind, some of us have been here for way too long, but how was in kind handled before? Because it seems like it's increased and increased and increased. And how was it? Was there parameters? Were there a structure in place? How was that handled?
Based on the in-kind, I know it has been increasing lately.
Yeah.
Before, to be honest, I don't recall how much or how it was handled before, because it would never go through my section of the finance area. But now that I'm looking at the numbers, the way that it has been increasing, but it's less monetary, it's more of borrowing equipment than anything that has to do with cutting checks or anything like that. Because maybe even 50,000, you'll probably see by the end, this time next year, you'll probably won't even see close to how much we ended up budgeting to what was spent.
Okay.
But
that's a good thing to know.
We can change the numbers for you if you guys decide to lower them.
Doesn't necessarily mean we have to spend the 50,000 and you'll get the last thing, Mayor. So just for clarification, you'll get what would be nice in the future reports that we get, financial reports, if you can add, I'll put it on the agenda. If you can add an in-kind amount.
For the month.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you could do quarterly, like quarterly so far you've spent this amount of in-kind, which includes overtime and all that stuff. You know how that works. So yeah, just so that we can also be transparent and show how much in-kind we're spending. Okay.
That sounds good.
Okay. Go ahead, Saulo.
My-
You have a quick,
Thank you.
Yeah, my
Hold on.
understanding is that this has evolved as opposed to being a matter of policy. And so perhaps, since I see the city attorney back online, perhaps what we should do is attempt over the next few weeks or months to craft a policy. That way you've got a roadmap for which will help you make those decisions. Because, yeah, things like that tend to morph. We don't just one day say, we got to have a policy. It happens to us as opposed to what.
Mayor,
to bias.
just so you'll know, there is a policy. There's a policy already, and while we're talking, I'll look it up. There's a policy already, and in place, but we don't seem to have changed it when the amount went up to 1,500. So you might want to check with Mr. Estes, but there's a policy already.
With your permission, we can ask Mr. Estes to look into that.
Mr. Bonilla? Go ahead.
So do we, going back to the chamber issue, do we vote, Mr. Falcon, or how do we go about doing this as far as continuing to fund the chamber?
That would be a question, I think, Mr. Estes. You have a motion and a second on the floor to adopt the tentative budget. If you want to make changes, Joe, what would be the appropriate procedure for making a change now within the context of the motion and second that are already on the floor?
Okay.
Okay, but
Thank you, Mr. Estes.
I think I'd like to have some definite,
No,
I want to have, I want to be able to make that change before the final budget comes before council. And Sergio does too. Mr. Bonilla.
I did.
I have one, I do have a comment before.
No, don't make any motions right now.
Yeah.
There was a motion and a second
Hurrying
to
up to
adopt
that
the tentative budget. That's all that's on the floor right now.
We're just discussing.
I just have one more.
we're in discussion of the tentative budget, that's it. There's no motion to change anything right now.
Okay. Staff would like some direction. I don't have it right now from what I just heard. It's okay. We get it. That wasn't Mr. Bohorquez. Mr. Bonilla.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Ms. Parada.
there's one last thing on the chamber that I forgot to mention. They're very important because we don't have an economic development department in the city, and that's where the chamber picks it up. And speaking of budgets, of removing, of increasing, what do we do when a certain council member overspends his budget like $12,000, Councilman Bonilla? What do we do with that? Can we lower the salary on that? Or how do we do it to cap it out?
Well, same procedure. Could I make a comment?
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just a couple of things to keep in mind in the context of Mr. Bonilla's request. Along with that $50,000 allocation to the chamber goes responsibilities for doing certain things that are normally done by tourism operations in most cities. Not everyone does it the same way. The model that you have here is you allocate money to another agency who then serves as the destination marketing organization for your community. Where I live, the city actually stands up its own visitor center and employs its own people and performs those DMO functions. While one way can be preferred over the other depending on where you go, I can tell you that $50,000 is a smoking deal to achieve the same end. And so I'm assuming that if we don't fund the chamber, that those functions on behalf of the city would have to go somewhere else. For instance, you probably get about $50,000 in co-op advertising funds from the Arizona Office of Tourism in exchange for your contribution or the chamber's contribution of $50,000. It's a one-to-one ratio. So if you buy $50,000 worth of advertising that's in the AOT catalog, they will match it with another $50,000 worth of advertising. They take all the phone calls, they do all the referrals, all of that which would necessarily have to go someplace else because, well, quite frankly, I would doubt that the chamber, without having your blessing as the marketing organization for the city, would have to come back here and be done by someone else. So those are things we have to take into consideration. Like I say, I've seen it done both ways successfully in both ways. It's just a matter of how you want to do it and who you think should. I can tell you that if all of those functions come back to the city, that we're going to have to stand up some kind of organization to take care of it, and that's just going to cost you money anyway.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that comment. Looking at the budget, also the bed tax, not to forget the bed tax. And so the bed tax, and I looked at the paperwork that is public, and the bed tax is intended to be used in that way, as you well know. I know you're very knowledgeable about that. So that brings in about, almost $500,000 if you look at page 8. So I just wanted to mention that, which is really, really important, which was meant, if you look at the documents, which was meant to increase tourism and increase visibility and do that type of thing. And so it's not, the bed tax is not going directly to the chamber, just so that public can know it's going directly to our general fund. Okay. Another thing too, Mr. I know we're jumping here, but also on the salaries, going back, because just so as you well know, I feel like you're an expert in this, but most of the revenue that comes in the city of Nogales, and you could see, goes to payroll. We know that, right? Over almost $34 million that comes in out of the 78 million. But I wanted to bring up also, just to make sure that the employees that were given addendums or extra pay for doing extra duties, that is once you get a person to do that position that's vacant, that person that got that incentive is going back to their salary, right? Okay.
Yes.
I want to make sure, because some of the employees did not get those incentives for extra duties. And so I want to make sure that when we do the $2 increase across the board, that people that got these extra incentives go back to, it's not added to the extra addendum that it was given to them, because that will definitely increase it. Right.
Any, and I forget the term for it.
Yeah, is incentive, extra pay, whatever.
Yeah, any extra pay that is included either in in policy or in union agreements
Okay.
is not impacted by the $2 an hour. That all remains above the $2 an hour. So if they were getting 33 cents for something an hour, and there is actually those things in the union agreements, those are unaffected by that. They still continue in addition to any general increase that they receive. So we're not trying to do that to take something else away. Okay, it's totally above board.
That's exactly what I'm trying to.
Yeah, yeah, totally above board.
Mr. Bakken,
Go ahead.
we discussed the DMO, you and I, at length. Just in case you forgot the conversation we had, City of Nogales has gone for years without sometimes not having a DMO. So it's just one bit of information out there.
And I do recall that conversation, but you do have an obligation to spend those bed tax funds on tourism.
We understand that, but I think we can explore other avenues other than
Because you can
the chamber.
actually, you can pay employees with that money too.
Exactly.
Mayor?
Go ahead, Mr.
So,
Dole.
like I mentioned before, most of the tourism that comes into town is to these special events, from fiestas, from Cero Tres, and always from Little League, especially the regional, that you're so aware of that. And do you get funded by the city? Does Little League get funded? I mean, you guys are ambassadors for the city, bringing in all these tournaments and bringing all these people from all over the country, at least the western part of the country. We got people from Washington, Oregon, Southern California, Northern California, Alaska, Hawaii. They come with a big entourage. They bring families, and usually they kind of have at least 80 people from the parents of the kids that come, and not only the parents, the relatives. You know better more than us. Do you get funded by that?
We do not get monetary funded. We do get all the support from the city on the fields.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Still,
The use
there's
of
other
lights
costs
in the
that come into
fields.
play. I remember the last city manager didn't even want to fund a parade for these regional teams that came from like 10 different states. Now, is that right? Shouldn't the city fund these type of programs where they can cover those costs, in kind and maybe police for traffic control and whatnot when they have a small parade to honor these guests that come from such a far away distance, think about it. Those are things that really mean something to Nogales. Regionals has put us in the map. We hold the regional tournament, Little League tournament here in Nogales. Nogales. We don't do it anymore in Sacramento, California, or anywhere else. It's here. That's a very important event. So I think that Little League should put in and start getting some funding from the city from the bed tax and the good tourist ambassadors they are for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Montiel?
Mr. Doyle, are you okay? We're not taking in-kind away. The in-kind staying in that category.
And we need to do the right thing with that in-kind.
Oh, okay. We're not taking it away. We're just saying that we're actually Sergio added more in-kind.
No.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. We're talking about tourism. Like you said right
you're
now,
referring to
the
the
funding
chamber.
that we can either get pay for someone to spearhead that, and also support the events that bring those people into our community,
about the
that
chamber.
stay in the hotels, that pay for that bed tax to support us. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, and Mr. Dole's right. The Little League brings a lot of people to our community, a lot of tourism, and the special events that we have, like the Fiestas Patrias. But these are events that take at the most what the Little League takes 1 week. The chamber does this 12 months a year. They work and recruit tourism 12 months a year. They don't do it once in a while or once a month or a one time only. They continue to work to bring more businesses, to bring more tourism. And I know, the special events they do bring, it's good for the community morale, and for the tourism. But the chamber does that every month for the whole year.
One more point.
Go ahead, Ms.
I'm also a board member with the Port Authority. Should we defund them too?
No, they're working for, I'll answer that. They actually have produced over the years. And if you want to, we'll bring the whole track record. We'll get it from it because they'll give it to us like that. And they really have brought in one of the biggest projects right now that has taken away from the danger of our school kids in Mariposa Road was that bypass with those big semis that used to come down, some of them without brakes from Mexico and threatening our kids coming out of the high school. Now they go right over the bypass and there's no danger to the school. Also, there's no bottleneck traffic anymore on Mariposa Road that there used to be years back. Thanks to the Port Authority, that was one of their projects. The Mariposa port of entry. They're the ones that were behind that project. They're the ones that were out there lobbying in Washington, and they've always been there. They're our they're unofficially lobbyists, but they're always lobbying for the city of Nogales. What has the chamber done? Thank you.
My point was that a member, I just wanted to point out that that's not an issue, or if it was an issue. That's all.
Thank you. Move on.
Guess so.
Yep. Any other items? Any other items we want to talk about on the budget?
I guess.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm sorry. Today is to cap things, right? It's not the tentative budget. That means once it gets approved, we can't add anything else on, but we can cut because there's some trimming to be done. Thank you.
That's correct.
Ms. Montiel?
Okay, Mr. Polkin, we talked the last time a lot about increases in the utility billings. So before we close the meeting, where in this whole notebook, where is the increase that, so you talked, the last time you talked about, and it came out in Nogales International, that we need to at least increase the utility rates by 25%. Is that all factored into this? Or is that another conversation at another time with a public hearing and so forth? Can you kind of clarify that process?
Sure.
Because I don't want the public.
Sure.
I mean, the public's already, kind of
I
got that
can't,
from the article, got that we are possibly
Yeah.
increasing it. But I don't see that amount factored into the utility
We
accounts.
can't put revenue in this budget that hasn't been approved by council.
Okay.
Okay. So, however, you can, what you have no limit on is how much revenue you can generate. Okay. So, what we have to do, and Joe can probably explain the process better than I can, but I don't know if we need to do that today.
Okay.
There's a process that we have to go through in order to increase the water fund billing by $3 a month. Okay. And that process will probably, if we start at the next council meeting, we could probably put that rate adjustment into effect in July, maybe August. Okay. At the very latest. And I would suggest that we start that process. As soon as possible, and Serge and I got to get with Joe to figure out what the exact procedure is for that process. So you would be allowed to collect more money and put it in the water fund. It would just show at the end of the year that you would have generated more funds than you have budgeted here. In the meantime, the $1.3 million that is proposed in this budget to be transferred backfills the deficit so that the water fund is solvent. So, and you're going to have to, a year from now, and hopefully you will have a better handle on the exact needs in the water fund, but there will be debts to pay. There's already debts to pay in this one, over $1 million a year. And you will have to, as a process of increasing the water rates by $3 a month, okay? 25% sounds bigger than $3 a month, but that's what it is, $3 a month. Now, it could be a little bigger or smaller depending on your water usage, but on the base amount, it's $3. And I'm rounding to the nearest dollar. You will have to come up and adopt a plan to start repaying that loan essentially. And that's going to increase your costs. And you're going to have to start looking seriously at implementing some of the water projects that you have already engineered but haven't yet executed. Because, as you know, the water system is very slowly deteriorating. I don't know, Eric might think it's deteriorating a little faster. But those are things that, and I think they've already got a pretty good handle on what we're going to have to do in the next 10 years. That will need to be articulated to you so that you can plan to adjust those rates again the year after that, the year after that, the year after that. Hopefully at smaller intervals than this one. I don't know the answer to that question yet. Okay, and I won't be here to work that answer out for you. This is the beginning of a long-term slog towards restoring your water system and paying for it as a business. Basically, it's a business. Your water treatment plant is a factory. And like all factories, they need to be equipment needs to be repaired and replaced periodically. Your distribution system, all those bundles of pipes you have underground, many of those have lived past their useful life, and they are going to need to be replaced. And we know already from the amount of maintenance that's being done on the water system distribution system that there are a good many pipes that need to be replaced, and part of that has been designed. And we'll need to move forward on that over a period of time. Believe me, I get it. Nobody likes a rate increase. Okay, I don't like rate increases, but you're making a decision as a board of directors for a $100 million corporation that we call the city of Nogales. And one point of view says that we don't want no rate increases, and that's all that stuff and the pushback that goes with this. And the other point of view says, well, as stockholders, which we have about 19,000 of, stockholders or stakeholders, however you want to put it, okay, when those people can no longer draw tap water from their kitchen tap or flush their toilet, then we failed. And right now you are on a collision course with failure. And if we don't do something, we will continue to fail. And at some point, failure will reach different proportions. Now, Mr. Vasquez is going to be here to meet with you next week on the 28th. We have that straight now. He's also going to talk to you not just about what I've just said, but he's also going to talk to you about how that's going to affect your bond rating. And your bond rating is going to affect your interest rate. And your interest rate and your bond rating may or may not allow you to borrow money, depending on which way it goes over a period of time. This is a very complicated set of circumstances that's going to determine how you operate your system basically, at least in the next 10 years. And Mr. Mayor, I still haven't found any evidence that we have any water rights. And if you know where that paperwork is, I would love to see it.
I'll get it for you. Then,
Okay.
Mayor.
I got, hold on. You know, one thing that we need to fix, I still get calls and calls on our billing, water billing.
Yeah, we sent out a memo to you last week. Okay, 4 pages of memo. That problem existed before I got here, and I think we've started to get under control. It's still going to take a little while to sort everybody's account out. We're asking for your indulgence and your patience, and I'm really asking for the people of Nogales' indulgence and patience. Please come and see the Revenue Department if you still have issues with your bill or don't understand what your bill says. And we will be able to work it out for you. And some people, there might still be a mistake on their bill. Some people might just be delinquent. Because we've got, in the water fund, we've got $600 and some odd $1,000, over $600,000 in delinquencies currently. Okay? Those delinquencies, now, we'll never get back to zero because there will always be delinquent accounts. But 600,000 is a little extreme. If we can get that back down to, working amount would be about 100,000 in delinquencies at any given time. That $500,000 is money we can use. And so Sergio and the Revenue Department have started a systematic method of calling delinquent accounts and getting collections. And we're starting to see some real money coming in. A lot of people, all you got to do is call them and let them know that they're delinquent, and please come in and let's talk about it. And they can either come in and pay, or they can come in and we'll work out a plan for them to pay it over a period of time if it's unaffordable for them to pay it all off at once. And we're probably going to still be getting those calls for the rest of the year, Mayor. But believe me, we're on the way to normalcy.
Yeah, but it's not much, well, the cost of delinquency has been the cost of our, billing,
Not entirely. Not entirely.
because, they come here, they say, I was getting $90, now I got $200. And why is that coming in? Well, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, we didn't charge you, but there's no proof. We're not giving them any readings or nothing, just, hey,
We've had that conversation many times, and they've been working on a system. Almost all of the customers who come in and sit down with the Revenue Department people leave satisfied with whatever the outcome is. So, I apologize that sometimes it requires a trip in here to talk with our people to straighten everything out. But I would rather ask them to straighten it out than to continue for the problem to persist at least at this level. So,
now
so we're working on it.
there's people that, elderly and stuff like that, that
I get it.
can somebody serve them on the phone?
Yes, the answer is yes, but a lot of times it takes sitting down with a piece of paper and looking at a spreadsheet to do that. And so sometimes that's a better option. Now, house calls, yeah, I mean, if someone's elderly and handicapped, it wouldn't be out of the question for us to visit them.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Parra.
I think this is for Sergio. Are the health insurance premiums being affected with this tentative budget?
No, not at all. It's the same cost that it was last year, so there's no changes in the health insurance. The only thing that we might be considering changing is the way that we deduct and that is we normally tend to deduct every pay period, and we're looking into going into 2 pay periods per month. That way, instead of 26 deductions the whole year, you get 24 deductions. But that way, we collect the full month of the insurance, because when we're doing the 26-month pay period, we don't deduct from the employees the full amount until we get the 3 pay periods. Like for the instance, this month, we're going to get 3 paychecks. That kind of covers whatever wasn't collected prior. And by having that, it actually helps, because when an employee leaves, at least that month when they left, the full month is already paid off from the previous month.
And go ahead, Mr. Bonillas.
Going back to our water rate discussion, you know, that 25%, Mayor and Council, is only showing our commitment to pay back those 1.3 million. Next year, I imagine during this time, we're going to have to make another decision as far as how much we're going to raise the rate. But this 25%, we can't take this hit anymore. I mean, Mr. Bakken, what other projects did Eric ask for? Did he have additional few projects, like the water tank, the one that scoured away in the bottom that needs to be fixed immediately? That itself right there is 911. If we lose that tank, that water tank, we're going to be in a hole 15 million. So we need money. We need to approve this rate increase to start getting funding for that study, the engineering study for that water tank, and the other 3 projects you told us towards the end. Can you remind us what those were?
I think it would be appropriate, Mr. Stewart, to give like a 30-second explanation. I know that's hard, because it's really not a budget item per se, but it is impacting the budget.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. One of the biggest items was the consulting fee for the redesign of the slope.
Speak up.
Excuse me. One of the largest fees was the redesign of the slope, and the other one was for 2 different wells that had a deficiency of. They exceeded the arsenic requirements. We needed media for those 2, so that was to meet.
Any other questions for Mr. Eric that we have him up? Go ahead, Mr. Dahl.
That second part, the extraction, parchment, is that like a sediment or what is it?
The arsenic, it's
Arsenic is.
yeah,
oh.
arsenic. And so it's a media that it's very expensive. It comes from out of state, and it's specific for the method that we use to remove the arsenic from the water.
And is that customary that happens?
It is customary. Well, so over time, ADEQ has lowered the maximum limits of arsenic, and so when they reduced it last, we had 3 wells that bumped up against that limit, and so we've been systematically going through and introducing this media so we can extract that arsenic.
When was the last time they did that extraction?
I couldn't tell you. I'm sorry. No.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. So, any other changes? With that said, then I want that Ms. Montiel, so she could be on the vote, so we continue. In general, Mr. Puckett, on all departments, do we have any questions or anything as far as us reducing them or increasing budgets or needs?
From staff's perspective, we've pretty much beaten this thing to death over the last couple months. And, within the constraints we have, we've done the best we can to bring a budget that serves the people.
Okay. We're just waiting to make the final vote, Ms. Montiel. So, go ahead.
Curious about that treatment of the arsenic. Could, for the next round, were we going to vote right now for the rate hike or? Okay. Okay. So basically, what I'd like to know for the final budget is on that, or when the discussion comes about the rate hike, actually. If we could get a little more information on that, on when was the last time and how often do we have to treat, and the expense, because if it comes into play that it's something that's needed on a yearly basis or something, well, we need to know because we got to consider the safety of our residents, that there's no contamination of any kind in any of the wells. So I'd like to have a little more information on that in the near future.
Well, as time goes on, first of all, I think everyone understands that arsenic is naturally occurring, okay, in the earth. And when we pump water out of the earth, depending on the level of arsenic that's in that basin, some of that gets pumped out along with the water. Over time, the EPA and ADQ have determined at different times what a safe level of arsenic is in the water that the cities pump for distribution to their users. And what Mr. Stewart was explaining a moment ago was that what's happening right now is that the allowable level of arsenic in our water has been determined to need to be lower by ADQ. So, and the filtration systems that we are now buying are in response to that new standard for arsenic levels in the water. Please keep in mind that over time, you're going to start to see more ADQ and EPA changes in levels of different types of chemicals that occur in the water, either naturally or as byproducts. For instance, another big deal right now is a group of chemicals that's kind of generically known as PFAS, PFAS. And I think you've heard about that already. Not all of those standards have been put in place yet, but it's likely that when those go into effect, and they usually give the municipalities a period of time to react to their changes in their standards, we will have to react to those by changing our water filtration system to deal with those new standards. So this is a process that is going to probably continue and probably more frequently rather than less frequently than what you've seen in the past because of the sensitivity to the types of chemicals that are getting into the water system by various means.
Maybe we should have that item on the next agenda.
Which one?
One of the water safety.
Okay, now, do you want to talk specifically about arsenic?
No, the next meeting, yes.
Okay. We'll put that on the next agenda, Mr. Clerk. Yes, sir. And Eric will be ready to present.
Ms. Montiel, you have a question?
Just before we approve, I just have a couple of questions, Mr. Polkin. First of all, thank you for putting this tentative budget together along with your directors. I understand, I guess it's a question, you met with your directors. They had an opportunity to have input and share what their concerns are and so forth, right? Okay. Then after you've had an opportunity to get to know the city and especially its finances, which is the economic machine of the city, what's your opinion on what we are about to approve, the tentative budget. Do you think that we're in good standing or not in good standing, aside from the utility account? Of course, you've recommended we increase it by 25%, but in terms of just the budget, the meat itself, give me your opinion on its state of the budget.
I think this is a cautionary tale, okay? Quite frankly, I don't know that in the past year or two that you've been giving as much information as you could have been given, and pointing the finger at absolutely no one and probably absolutely everyone, because it takes all of us to get to that point. I think a very basic part of any budget, and the first thing you should be looking at, and the first thing staff should be looking at when we cobble together, is the term I like to use, a budget, an annual budget, is how much are you planning, how much are you wanting to spend, how much are you needing to spend versus wanting to spend, versus the amount of the available revenues that you have to spend on them. Okay. Now, as we've been discussing over the last couple of weeks, there's been a couple of fiscal years here where, we've actually approved spending in excess of our revenues. And while there's always justification for that under certain circumstances, it shouldn't become common. It shouldn't become structural. And my fear is that it has become structural, and because of what you've approved this year, this actually sets your expectation for starting the next one and the one after that. So we're basically saying this is okay, but I want you to, leave this process by thinking, well, this is okay, but, and that but is in capital letters, but we have to change what we're doing, or eventually you're going to find yourself without that general fund reserve money that you currently have. And now, I don't think you're going to spend all $14.7 million, okay? But I think you're going to spend 10. And 10's a lot. And so, and the last thing I want to do is recommend hiring any more employees. Okay, you've got a lot of employees. But what I think you should do is I think you should start a process, institute a process, probably starts in the finance office, of systematically looking over the next couple of years how you can restructure your financial house, if you will, so that when we sit down on days like today to approve a tentative budget, the gap between revenues and expenditures is minimal. Okay? Because, technically, we can call this a balanced budget, but what are we balancing it with? We're balancing it with money that we already have. So that means we're not going to have it a year from now. And so, and I've directed Sergio to, that's not, those two numbers aren't in this budget. And those two numbers are going to be in next year's budget. You're going to start out, staff is going to start out, once they get their budget requests into the finance office and we put them all in the spreadsheet, we're going to know instantaneously how much we've got to change that budget to get close to balanced without the use of reserves. And I'm not advocating that you never use reserves. In fact, I've fought that a couple of times in the course of my career. And then sometimes you have money in reserve specifically for a specific project. For instance, a couple of years ago, I had $2 million in my budget that were going to rebuilding the city hall that got burned down. So the reserve took a big hit that year, but it's because $2 million from the insurance company were put in it 6 years before that. So that kind of thing is okay, and we need that flexibility. We also need to keep in mind that the auditors are always going to want to see somewhere between 3 and 6 months of reserve in your general fund, just in case some form of catastrophe visits Nogales. And, you know, God help us if that does, but we want to be ready. And so, and of course, that catch of money, if you will, is a policy matter that you need to determine how much that's going to be. And so there's that consideration at the same time. But most of all, the health of your three utility funds, you know, one of course is dire. The other two are not healthy, but still. Which is a sewer and sanitation. Okay. I think we've made some recommendations on sanitation. One of which is to go out and see if you can do better with a contractor than what you're doing yourselves. And that's something that Public Works should undertake right away in the new fiscal year. And because that, if it turns out that you can save, you can't save anything. You can spend less money by contracting the service out. And plus, if in Public Works opinion, that it can remain a viable way to do your sanitation work, which by that I mean have competition. You always want at least 2 waste haulers in town to fight for your business, because there are parts of the world, and I lived in one of them, where you know, the giant in the industry basically put everybody else out of business in that area. And so you only had one contractor to bid for your garbage hauling, and that ended up, well, as you know, competition brings prices down, and no competition sends prices up. So those are things that, you know, quite frankly, and I think after all this discussion now, I think we all understand that, you know, no budget is just 1 year. You know, this is not so much adding up and subtracting numbers as it is a work plan. And your work plan needs to be well thought out, and you need to look ahead as much as possible.
I can also say, may I?
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm looking, Mr. Someone sent me, which I was kind of shocked. You know, our expenses are increasing every year, but yet the population, you know, and that's all based on, go back to our budgets, it's increasing. Our expenditures are increasing, but yet the population of Nogales is decreasing by, you know, 1.4. So, you know, we're spending more, but yet people are moving out of Nogales. So it's kind of concerning. And just so that you'll know, it's I'm kind of a little worried because, you know, for years and years, it was always, and it's all public record, you know, some of us here on the dais would ask, is the budget healthy? Is the budget looking, you know, sensible or whatever have you? And of course, like you say, the revenue matches the expenses, but it's not that easy. There's more to it, right?
Right.
But the same rhetoric would be as, if you remember, the budget's very healthy. It looks very healthy. It looks very healthy repeatedly. And of course, we should, you know, we should have been more cognizant of it and looked into the details and meat of it. So I appreciate the fact that you enlighten us with the fact that, you know, we need to make some serious decisions and less spending, be more frugal about what expenditures we make. And most of the expenditures are, like I said, personnel, and you just alluded to, you brought that up. Most of them, the monies go to personnel, a lot of, you know, 33 million. So thank you. I appreciate what you just said.
I appreciate that. And, you know, one thing that, just a suggestion, looking forward, Community Development Department has been over time more focused on dealing with planning and zoning than they have on planning on the future of the community. And quite frankly, one of the things that's the hardest to come to grips with is if your community is shrinking in terms of size, and while that shrinking may be occurring, how does that impact your sources of revenue? And at the same time, and we talk about population, but we also talk about tourism. We talk about the normal migration that takes place primarily between here in Nogales, Sonora, or here in Rio Rico, because we still provide things that people need that can't be gotten in those other two places. And how can we, get more out of that over a period of time? And so what you don't have in community development is you don't have a community planner. Okay. We can deal with, new buildings and new businesses and that sort of thing. We've got that expertise. But what we don't have here is we don't have someone who spends all of their time answering those kind of questions, Ms. Montiel, that you're asking right now. And that can be enormously helpful over the long term. But unfortunately, most small communities resist doing that because they just look at it as another employee. But I think what could be very useful here, and it doesn't have to be a, quote, planner, okay? It just has to be someone who is experienced and adept at seeing what we have and where we're going and how we're going to get there. And usually that falls within the process of community development. So, I mean, that would be one specific recommendation I would make on that. And there's people out there. I know, and I know a couple of people who do it for smaller communities, smaller than ours, and do it fairly successfully.
Thank you. Well, that's it. Any more questions? All in favor of passing the tentative budget as is? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes to pass the tentative budget, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Move to adjourn this meeting. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.